going into our final story, which is about Nina Turner and the need for someone to primary Joe Biden. Now, first, I want to start off with this poll. This is new. This is recent. Poll finds that Trump is beating Biden, but DeSantis, Haley losing. I'm just going to read this short part here. I'm not going to read the entire article, just the part about the poll. Former President Trump is leading President Biden in a blah, 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 blah. I can't talk tonight. Is leading President Biden in a hypothetical 2024 matchup, while Biden leads former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, according to a new poll released on Tuesday. So see, now Trump is ahead of Joe Biden in the polls. Trump holds a 4-point lead over Biden, with 46% saying they would support the former president in a rematch in 2024, and 42% saying they would back the current president. And this is coming from the Emerson College poll. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because recently, Nina Turner had an interview. She was on a panel on CNN, and the discussion of Joe Biden having a primary challenger came up. And of course, you guys know Marion Williamson has said that she is going to primary challenge Joe Biden. I think you need to hear this discussion. There's a couple of things that I noticed. You know, I'll give credit where credit's due, but there was also something I did notice about this panel that I felt like there were areas where there should have been pushback where there wasn't. So shout out to Case Study QB for this clip. Let's go ahead and dive in to this issue here, whether or not if Joe Biden should run in 2024 and how they feel about someone primary challenging Joe Biden.
I think the problem that Democrats are going to face is that Biden is not without risk. He would be the oldest man elected president. There are moments when he seems feisty and ready to fight Republicans. And there are moments that do leave doubts in the minds of voters who are watching. Whenever you ask voters how they would feel about, say, a Donald Trump versus Joe Biden rematch, there's a very negative reaction to that prospect that we could be going through that again in 2024. But the problem Democrats have is, if not Biden, who? That's a huge question mark. The sitting vice president in polls that my firm and others conduct doesn't tend to do very well against potential Republican contenders. There are others on the list. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, California Governor Gavin Newsom.
First of all, why are they even floating around Pete Buttigieg's name as a possible contender for president for 2024 when Pete can't even do the job that he has right now? Pete is struggling to do the transportation position that he has right now. So why are they trying to tote Pete's name around for president for 2024? Let Pete learn how to do the job that he has. Because my thing is, this is a big red sign to me, a big red sign that, like, if all of these things have happened under Pete's position as Secretary of Transportation, then how would he lead the country? I wouldn't vote for Pete anyway, but how would he lead the country? So I can't even believe they're even like mentioning his name as a possibility, given everything that's happened so far.
All got issues. And so right now, in some ways, I think Republicans would love to run against Biden. On the other hand, I think Democrats have to be a little nervous that if it's not Biden, then who would it be? Do you think
there's no need to be nervous? I mean, we got to feel people should just jump in. Let's jump in. Let people jump in. You got Marion Williamson out there saying she may run.
So he should be challenged.
Oh, absolutely. He should be challenged.
Notice how the other woman asked that question. So he should be challenged. Like, why is that even a question? Like, does it? You know, the thinking, I think, around politics in this country is just so, it's just so binary. Like, like people are not thinking of other options or other possibilities. It's just like, this is what is presented in front of us, and let's not think outside of the box. And that bothers me because I like to think outside of the box. So it just kills me that, like, people are like, well, if not Joe Biden, then if someone's going to primary challenge Joe Biden, oh God, you think that should actually happen? Why not? Now, again, like I told you guys, I don't care. If they're running in the two-party system, they're not getting my vote. If you're running this Democrat or Republican, you're not getting my vote, period. That's just how it is. But that being said, does that mean that someone should not be able to primary challenge him? No, I disagree with that. If they want to do it, they should be able to do it. But the idea and the narrative that is coming from mainstream media is that, oh my God, I can't believe that this is even happening, or this should never even be considered as a possibility. I've shown you multiple clips where they said things like the media should just not give her much attention. Like, this is the way of thinking that we have in this country. Don't think outside the box. Just deal with what is presented in front of you and work with that. Isn't that sad?
Voters deserve.
Nina and I agreed on everything.
Yeah, this is one where I don't
that's
agree.
Okay. Voters deserve, right? This is democracy. This is not a dictatorship. Voters deserve to have choice, period. And you know,
let's go back to this part about democracy. This piece here.
Nina and I agreed on everything.
This is one where I don't
that's
agree.
Okay. Voters deserve, right? This is democracy. This is not a dictatorship. Voters deserve to have choice, period. And you know, I rock on the freedom fighting side of the ledger.
Voters deserve to have a choice, and this is a democracy. But this is what I've argued on this show, is that we actually don't have a true democracy in this country, because if we did, third-party candidates would be on the ballot just as easily as the Democrat and Republican candidate. They wouldn't have to gather all these signatures just to appear on the ballot. They wouldn't have to be smeared by mainstream media because they're running as a third-party candidate, because they're running as an independent. They wouldn't have to go through all of that. They would get just as much media airtime as someone running through the duopoly. They would be guaranteed a spot on the debate stage, just like the Republican and the Democratic candidate. So we really don't have, this is what I'm saying. If we had a true democracy in this country, all these issues that come up with voting every year, where people are closed out of the polls, or the machines or whatever isn't, I'm gonna be careful what I say, machines or whatever isn't working, and things like that. In a true democracy, would that be an issue? Nah, that's the problem. We don't have that. Anytime you have the Democratic Party, the DNC can make a statement saying that they are allowed to pick candidates from a back room. That's not a true democracy. Anytime President Barack Obama can pick up the phone and tell other people to drop out to help Joe, that's not a true democracy. It means that the person that they wanted has already been selected, and that's what the party is going to rock with. And anybody else going against that person is going to get shafted. That's just the reality.
I want to see a robust debate. One of the things that our campaign did in 2016 and also in 2020, I'm talking about Senator Bernard Sanders, is we lifted the debate in terms of what people really need and deserve in this country.
But the big difference was, back then, at that time, the sitting president. See, this is what we got to go back to. At that time, 2016, 2020. So Barack Obama, 2016, he had just finished 2 terms, so he could not run again. So basically, you had like a vacant seat in the White House, right? 2020, the sitting president was Donald Trump. He's a Republican. So when we talk about having a vigorous debate, I think we need to remember what was different back then versus what is different now. First of all, number one, Marion Williamson's challenge is going to be getting on the debate stage to begin with. How is she going to get on the debate stage if she's primary challenging Joe Biden? You know they're going to make it tough. This is not to say it can't happen, but the DNC can come in and say, yeah, we're not going to have a debate. They can do that. They can just do it. They can change the rules. We've watched them do it multiple times. They'll change the rules to let the people in that they want in, and they'll change the rules to keep the people out that they want out. That's how it works. Sorry, just keeping it real. Which again goes back to the point that we don't have a true democracy. And anyone primary challenging Joe Biden, if they're not allowed to debate, how are they going to have the opportunity to actually have a chance to win? Because let's remember, that's how someone like Jesse Ventura, even though it was a local race, that's how he was able to win a gubernatorial election, because he was able to debate, even though he was running as a third-party candidate. That's the difference. So if Marianne can't get on that debate stage, I don't even know how that is going to. But you know, I think that we'll talk about this tonight on Call In. Let me keep it moving.
The only way to get that kind of robust debate is to have people on that stage. So on the Republican side, the more the merrier, and on the Democratic side, the more the merrier.
So what I was going to say is when you look at Nikki Haley's announcement video, when you listen to what Tim Scott's saying, a lot of the message is like new, new, new. And I keep thinking like, yeah, well, New Coke was new, but it didn't do very well. Like new alone is not necessarily a winning argument. And so you need to put forward something. And you know, I'm paying attention to what's going on the right because I'm totally in it for Joe Biden. I think he's got the record and he's done what he said he was going to do.
All right, listen to what this guy is saying. New doesn't necessarily mean better. That's true. But what you have right now isn't better either. Okay, this is like what you have right now is not great, which is why he has a primary challenge, which is why his polling numbers are the way that they are. Because what you have in-house is not great, Mr. Man. But he gonna ride with Biden. He let you know right now, that's his dude. That's who he's gonna ride with. And now he's telling you, look at Joe Biden's record. Let's do that, shall we? How far are we going back when we look at this record? Are we just looking at his record as president, or are we looking at his whole record as a politician? Even if we want to just look at his record as president, Joe Biden did not accomplish the things, most of the things that he said that he was going to accomplish. Now, you notice there's no pushback here. Watch this. Watch this. Hold on.
I'm totally in it for Joe Biden. I think he's got the record and he's done what he said he was going to do. And
he's got the record and he's done what he says he was going to do. Notice there are no examples. So this is where, like, for me, there needs to be a pushback. No one at this table, and you're going to see it, no one at the table pushes back on that. No one pushes back on Joe Biden's record. And no one pushes back on his statement where he says he's done the things that he said that he was going to do. What about canceling the student loan debt for students that went to HBCUs? What about that? The ones who were making under $150,000 a year? And people keep telling me that wasn't a part of the campaign promise. Oh, yes, it was. And I went back to that website and I showed it to you guys on this show. Trust, I wouldn't forget that. What happened to that? Like, what? What happened to the $15 minimum wage? Yes, he promised that. Do you see the problem? They're like, oh, well, we cut child poverty in half. You mean the child tax credit that they ended early and they took away? Let's talk about this, guys. Not one person on this panel pushes back on that statement. Let's go on.
And so I think that's powerful. But I think I don't see a message. I don't see a message coming out the other side.
To convince voters.
New Coke doesn't work because people like original Coke, and the problem is
original Biden.
But see, this is not about Coke, though. I don't disagree with Jeff about if it's just new, that's not it. But we need a vision that provides provision for the people.
Before we go, you just heard earlier in the program the RNC chair that.
See what I tell you? Not one person pushed back on his record, which that one was easy to do. And not one person pushed back on him fulfilling his campaign promises.
She say that she is going to have candidates sign a pledge to get on the stage that they would support other candidates. Good idea.
Well, you start. No, I think it. Well, listen, I would not, take Rana's done a great job running the party. It's a very difficult time. But it's hard to enforce, right? You saw the clip right afterwards where Donald Trump said,
why does he look like Hank from Breaking Bad? This guy looks like, I just noticed this time around. He looks like he kind of reminds me of Hank from Breaking Bad. Like any minute, Walter White's going to step in and just be like, I'm the one who knocks. He does looks like Hank.
Well, maybe I will, maybe I won't, right? And if he's not going to do it, then everybody else is going to say, well, we're not going to disarm.
10 seconds. Does it matter?
Republican voters do not want to see their party fight itself. They want to see their party fight the Democrats, period.
Yeah. I would hope they want to see their party serve the people, period.
But see, this is the thing about partisan politics. That's all it is. So you just heard the other woman. She said Republicans, let me go back. Hold on. Because that was like a gotcha moment. All right, let's finish up with Hank.
Do it. Then everybody else is going to say, well, we're not going to disarm.
10 seconds. Does it matter?
Republican voters do not want to see their party fight itself. They want to see their party fight the Democrats, period.
Republicans don't want to see their party fight itself. They want to see their party fight the Democrats. This is the problem with political parties. It's all just partisan politics. That's it. That's all it is. So Nina is right with this next point when she says, I would hope that they would want to fight for the people. None of these parties want to fight for the people. All these parties do, especially the ones, the politicians in DC, all they do is fight for their donors so they can keep getting donations and they can keep their seats. They fight for Democrat leadership. Now, the Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party, that's a different thing. That's actually what the squad was supposed to do. And they took those reins and did that on the Republican side. But in the Democratic Party, they fight for their donors so they can keep getting that donor money. All they want to do is do that, and they want to fundraise and keep their seats. And then they'll stay there long enough so that they can get a pension and so that they can write a book. And then they'll have speaking engagements where they can charge $500, $1,000 for these engagements. And they just become a career politician. And a lot of these people who said they didn't want to be a career politician, once they got there, that changed. For most of them, that changed. So Nina goes on to say,
I would hope they want to see their party serve the people, period.
Amen.
All right. Wow. We agree on
Look at
something.
that. Kumbaya.
Thank you so much, everybody.
she just said, I hope they want their party to fight for the people, but they don't. Neither of them do, though. That's the thing. This isn't new. Now, moving on, there's another clip that I want to show you. And shout out to K-Steady QB for this clip as well. Former Joe Manchin comms director discussing polls showing Democratic primary voters against Biden in 2024. Listen to what he says, because I think this is very telling about the progressive, or what's left of the progressive energy and what usually happens.
37% keep Biden, 53% someone else. How troubling is that for the White House, Jonathan?
Not troubling at all. Those 53% are, I guess, the Democrats who don't like winning. I'm of the Democratic wing of the party that likes to win elections. So I can't.
Stop it with the wings. I want to disrupt this here and say something. There is no different wing. I used to believe there was a different wing too. They're all corporate controlled. The party is a corporation. So let's stop this with, I'm of the wing of the party that wants to win. I'm a wing of the party that's corporate. I'm a wing of the party that's progressive. All you mofos in the same corporate party. Period. 53%. Let's go on. By the way, this doesn't include me. Most people from my generation are not a part of this poll. Most of us millennials and Gen Z, we are not included in this poll. 53% want to see someone else. 53%. But go on, Mr. Wing of the party.
How troubling is that for the White House, Jonathan?
Not troubling at all. Those 53% are, I guess, the Democrats who don't like winning. I'm of the Democratic wing of the party that likes to win elections. So I can't wait for Joe Biden to announce he's running again. Can't wait for Donald Trump to be the nominee. I think you're only going to see a bigger margin of victory for him in 2024 after.
You really think that? You know what I think will happen this time around? He thinks that Biden will have a bigger margin of victory. You know what I think will happen this time around? Because this isn't 2020 this time around. I think more people will stay home. Let's go on.
What he's accomplished in the last 4 years. So no, I think a lot of that is progressives who are upset that he didn't go far enough. I think those people all come back home the second he's the nominee and the second he has no opponent.
37%.
That part right there is the part that we all need to be paying attention to. I do agree with him. This last piece he says here, he says, well, he thinks those are progressives that are not happy with him. Not all of them. Not all of them. I know some people who are not progressives who are definitely just typical liberal Democrats that voted for Joe Biden that do not want him to run in 2024. Just keeping it real. They don't agree with the policies that I want, and they heavily supported Joe Biden. Like, no doubt about it. Was never going to support Bernie Sanders, was never going to support any type of progressive politician. And even some of them said they don't want him to run in 2024. This is just people I talk to, people out and about on the street. Not on Twitter, not on Facebook. But what he says right here at the end is the problem that kills progressive energy. And don't be surprised if it happens again.
Accomplished in the last 4 years. So no, I think a lot of that is progressives who are upset that he didn't go far enough. I think those people all come back home the second he's the nominee and the second he has no opponent.
37%.
He said all those people come back home the second he's the nominee and the second he has no opponent. And I do have to admit, that is one of the problems with trying to put a progressive, so to speak, through the Democratic Party. Because every time Bernie Sanders ran, what did he do when he told you, when he lost, what did he say? Support his corporate Democrat opponent, the same people he told you need to fight back and push back against. He's just going to capture that youthful, young, powerful, vibrant, what could be possible revolutionary, radical energy, and he takes it, he gets you hyped up, and he funnels you right back into the Democratic Party, which is corporate owned. The question that people have for Marion Williamson, now that she's primary challenging Joe Biden, is she going to do the same thing? If she loses, which I believe that she will, this is not me trying to be mean, I'm just keeping it real because I know the tricks that they play. But if she does lose, which I think she probably will, is Marion Williamson then in turn going to tell you to do the same thing? Go ahead and vote for Joe Biden. Because we already know there is no question of if Trump is running. Donald Trump is already running. And to that, I say this, and we're going to talk about this on Call In tonight. To that, I say this. If that is the case, if that is the way that it is going to be, if you're just going to take progressive candidates and they're just going to tell you to vote for the corporate Democrat because vote blue no matter who, then what is the point of having a progressive candidate run at all?